Whether you're a seasoned veteran or you're just starting out, here are some great tips and tricks for recording your podcast. Hey there, podcasters. Welcome to Podbean Academy. I'm your host, John. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the world of podcast recording. Oftentimes, this is the part of podcasting that podcasters have the most difficulty with. While yes, it certainly can get advanced, we're going to give you a lot of great tips and tricks to make it really easy for you to publish your content, give you some great ideas as to the kind of pieces that you'll need to record your content effectively, and give some great strategies around what do you really need and how can you optimize your editing process. While it certainly can get advanced, there are lots of tips and tricks to make recording and your process extremely easy. Also, you may have never worked with microphones or interfaces or any of this audio technology before, but don't worry, we got you covered in this video. So let's kick things off with best practices for your recording space. The great thing is, this part doesn't have anything to do with actually hitting the record button. This is all about prepping yourself to make sure that you're ready to record the best podcasting content. Most successful podcasters are going to tell you the same thing too. Preparation is key when learning how to podcast successfully. First off, make sure that you have a set of notes to keep your stuff organized. Whether you script your content or not, having some notes can help you keep track of the topics you're going to speak about on your show. Regardless of the length of your episode, make sure that you're jotting down some bullet points before you hit record. This can be the difference between a focused podcast episode and a meandering podcast episode that feels like it's rambling on and has the potential to lose listeners. Here's a pro tip. Have the different segments in your show broken down in your notes, and under each of those headers, put the bullet points that you want to talk about in that specific segment. This will help you stay consistent with your show in making sure that you always bring up those segments, bring up those products, and bring up the things that you need to within your podcast. It's also going to make sure that you don't miss the action items that you need your podcasters to know. Without your show notes, there's a chance that you're going to miss out on recording something that you needed your audience to know, or something that you wanted them to take an action on. Also, another important fact, hydration is key when it comes to podcast recording. Let me take some of my advice. Hang on. There we go. A sip of water or even a quick vocal warm-up can do wonders for your recording quality. It can also do a lot to help relieve some of those pre-recording jitters. Now, for my coffee drinkers, you'll probably have some of those recording jitters anyway, but I digress. One of the most important parts of recording and production is what you're actually recording. So always keep a bottle of water by you while you're recording to keep your vocal cords pristine, meaning that what your microphone is going to pick up is always going to be pristine as well. Now let's talk a little bit about the room that you're recording your podcast in. Now, you don't need to soundproof a room to sound like a podcasting pro. You can use simple tricks like hanging a blanket on your wall or having some pillows behind your microphone. All of this is going to help your microphone reduce the echo in the room. If all else fails, you can record in a room that has a bit of clutter to help disrupt any of that additional echo. One of the things that's harder to remove in post-editing are things like reverb and phasing, so the more you can do to remove that before you hit record, the better. Also, early on, you want to make sure that you're figuring out your recording position. People record in different ways, so you can record while you're standing, while you're sitting, and in some cases, while you're laying down. Just always be sure to test your recording setup before you hit record so that you're familiar with how it sounds and make sure it's the most comfortable position for you. Our recommendation is either standing or sitting to let the passage of air go through your body most effective. Are you ready to dive into recording your podcast? Well, here's the good news. To quick start recording your podcast, all you need is your phone. Yep, an app like the Podbean app allows you to record your content and edit your content right in our mobile recording studio and then upload it to your RSS feed, all from your mobile device. It's a fantastic way to get your podcast out to the world, and all you need is the technology that's right in your pocket. Plus, if you're looking for even more professional audio quality, there are microphones that you can get that plug directly into the bottom of your mobile device. This makes it even easier for you to get pro audio quality right on your mobile device. But don't break the bank on that just yet, unless you're ready to do so. You can get really good recording quality by using a pair of headphones that has a microphone built into it, like the Apple EarPods. Now, as your podcast grows, you may want to invest in some more advanced hardware and software. With technology being as readily accessible as it is now, you'll be able to find lots of great software and hardware that doesn't break the bank and still gives you everything you need to create a professional podcast. Finding what works for you is going to be a combination of portability, affordability, and comfort with the software or hardware. First things first, we're going to go ahead and talk about the hardware. Your computer is generally the foundation. any decent computer will do when it comes to recording your podcast. You want to make sure that any computer that you're using can run your specific DAW of choice. For those wondering, DAW, D-A-W, stands for Digital Audio Workstation. In short, this is just the software that you use to record and produce your show. You'll want to make sure that your computer has enough RAM built into it to run the software to produce your show. Oh, and also, USB ports are crucial for recording your podcast. USB ports are essential for plugging in external interfaces and microphones, and even here's a pro tip, having an external hard drive to back up all of your podcasting content too. There are also gear makers who make extensions to where if you'd like to use your iPad as your recording solution of choice, they make different extensions to where you can insert hardware into your iPad as well. So if you have an iPad, you may not necessarily need to invest into a computer. But in my opinion, using a computer is the best solution if you plan to create podcasts for the long haul. Next up, we're going to be talking about microphones for your podcast. They come in various shapes and sizes, and once again, it all comes down to a matter of portability, affordability, and what works best for your specific situation. If you have a USB interface already, you may go down the road of looking for a microphone that can plug in via XLR, which we'll talk about. Or if you're a podcaster that is brand new to this and you're looking for your first microphone for recording your podcast, you may be looking into one that you can plug directly into the USB port of your computer. USB microphones tend to be fairly plug and play, meaning that you can plug it right into your computer, and anywhere from 0 clicks to only a few clicks, you can have your microphone up and running for clear audio quality in your podcast recording. XLR microphones will require you to plug them into an interface for use. Both are great solutions depending on what your specific use case is. USB microphones, as I talked about, are a little bit more plug and play, but XLR microphones do give you a little bit more flexibility because you're plugging them into your interface of choice. One of my big go-to recommendations is the Shure MV7, which has both an XLR and a USB out. So you have the flexibility to use whichever one suits your needs at any different times. So this gives you lots of different flexibility to take the Shure MV7 wherever you need to go. Now let's talk about different types of microphones to record your podcast. The two most popular types of microphones for podcasting are dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. Dynamic microphones are rugged and versatile, great for various situations. Condenser microphones are a bit more sensitive, but they pick up a wider array of frequencies. A lot of people say that condenser microphones give a more accurate description to what you're actually recording. Your choice really depends on the kind of podcast you're recording and your recording situation. Because dynamic microphones are more rugged and durable, they're a great solution for any podcasters, especially podcasters that are oftentimes on the go or need to throw a couple of microphones in their bag for field recording. Condenser microphones are great for the podcaster who's mostly recording in their podcast studio and isn't traveling from place to place to record. Next, we're going to dive into our interfaces. Interfaces are what you plug your XLR microphone into to record your podcast. They allow you to control sound levels and also add additional power for condenser microphones, called phantom power. Single-channel or multi-channel interfaces are available depending on the amount of microphones you're looking to record at once. If you're a single-host podcaster or a podcaster with maybe one additional host and you're recording in the same room, an interface that has less inputs may be the solution for you. If you and your team are going to be recording multiple people in one room, looking into an interface that has multiple inputs are going to allow you to use multiple microphones at the same time to record your show. It'll also allow you to record each track individually onto their own track, which is going to make it much easier for you to edit your podcast when you're getting into the editing process. Focusrite makes a great podcast-specific interface called the Vocaster. That's one I would definitely look into that has two inputs for microphones and a variety of different controls right on the dashboard. One of the most overlooked pieces of hardware when it comes to recording your podcast is your headphones. And the great news about headphones is, yes, you can go crazy and break the bank on a variety of different headphone types, but you don't need to use anything crazier than the headphones that you currently have in your pocket. Any pair of headphones will do, but using headphones is crucial to making sure that what you're recording is the clearest possible and there's no additional audio sound being kicked back from your computer during the recording process. Using headphones will make sure that only the sounds that you want to be picked up are being picked up during your recording. This is super important when it comes to editing your podcast because the last thing you want to do is have a great podcasting take ruined by additional sounds that came back to you from the computer. Finally, let's talk recording software. Also known as your DAW, your Digital Audio Workstation. That's just fancy talk for the software that you're going to use to record and produce your podcast. Look for one that has a user interface that best suits your needs. For those who are already professional level producers, maybe something like a Logic Pro or a Pro Tools may be appropriate for them with all the additional features that it comes with. But for an entry-level podcaster or somebody who's looking to just focus on what they need to produce their podcast, there's a variety of different ones such as Audacity, Hindenburg, GarageBand. All of these are simple interfaces that are very powerful and give you all the tools you need right away to record, produce, edit, and publish your podcast. Audacity, GarageBand, and Hindenburg are three that I always recommend because of their easy-to-use interface. If you're looking for software that gives you even more flexibility, look into an editing software like Pro Tools or like Logic Pro. But please do not underestimate the amount of power that you get from a free software like Hindenburg, Audacity, or GarageBand. Plus, those softwares are free, and you really can't go wrong with that. And there you have it, recording your podcast made easier, or at least a little easier. Remember, the goal is to start simple and upgrade as your podcast evolves and as your needs grow. If you're eager to continue your podcasting education, check out the other videos in our How to Start a Podcast series here on Podbean Academy. As always, happy podcasting, and see you in the next video in Podbean Academy.